Hello, welcome to our 10 at 10. A little different than usual. We're actually in office finally. Usually we're both remote, so it's kind of weird to be in person and actually, be at the sign that everyone else is at when they're in person. So
Yeah, neither of us. I think we've done very large handfuls of these, and neither of us have ever actually been like in person
yeah,
to
it's
do
it's a
it.
little nerve-wracking to be honest. It's a little different, but
But luckily, we know a lot about what we're talking about today. And if you're on this key media social media pages, you know that we have sort of been nonstop talking about Muvera, and we threw the word demystifying in front of it this time, so we could kind of try and make it on theme, but still continue to talk about it because it is a really, really important part of digital marketing right now that I think everybody should be aware of. And if you have the capacity to work on it on your team or get connected with the team, that can kind of prepare you for the Muvera landscape ahead.
yeah. And so yeah, we'll kind of just jump right into it. At introductions, I'm Spencer. I'm a digital specialist here at Media Solutions.
And I'm Madison. I'm a digital strategist. A digital media strategist is the full title here at Key Media Solutions.
So what is Muvera? Google Muvera, more like is what it is. What is it? Basically, it's the change that Google introduced in 2025, so this year. So it's kind of just a focus in their algorithm. So instead of going after specific keywords, it's a change in their algorithm where they're going more in actual meaning and content within your website. So it's focused mainly on SEO. So previously, it was more just kind of like snippets where if you had the certain keyword, Google would kind of find that and grab it and then put it on their platform. And it worked out well, but yeah, recently this year they've made some changes where it's a little bit more focused on actual content. And kind of a good way to think about it is almost like expert opinion. So instead of just having like that specific keyword that triggers Google, instead you're having the actual content that makes sense. So having long form content, and so just kind of making sure that instead of just going after that keyword, it's going for actual content itself and putting that in front of users. And so, kind of why it matters to us as digital marketers, obviously, it's kind of completely changing intent itself. So instead of just focusing on specific keywords to on website content, instead going for more macro kind of things, making sure that pages are updated correctly, where it's actually showing content that's relevant to Google. So it's actually grabbing that and getting that organic growth rather than just going for specific keywords and focusing on more like actual deep user focused educational content, that kind of stuff, rather than just going for specific keywords.
Something I just realized too, kind of thinking about that as it's a shift from keywords. And we'll get into a little bit more on I'm going to cover kind of what you can do part of the content. Something I'm realizing is that they also really value authority, and that's with any rankings, and SEO has always kind of been a part of authorities, like how authority score. But they're also changing the same way that they're changing kind of how that relationship exists with keywords. They're also kind of changing that with authority too, and like they used to look more at backlinks and like how you had relationships with other high authority sites. But now they're really looking at the authority of your content, like Spencer's talking about, kind of like how informed it is and how much you actually can kind of provide an info.
And if it's like a reputable source, like if it actually makes sense that the content's coming from here, rather than just going for like a random website that, yes, it has that keyword, instead kind of focusing more on, actually getting content that makes sense and stuff that is authoritative.
Sorry, we had a noise machine making noise over
Oh, I
here.
didn't know what that was.
It kept getting louder.
I thought it was like some kind of air vent or something.
No, sorry, we had a noise machine that just increasingly got louder and louder as I was just talking, and so we had to turn that off quick. But back on Muvera.
But yeah, no, it's kind of just more focused on actual content rather than just keywords. So having like an actual authoritative voice in it. So having more links that kind of make you an authoritative figure makes more sense. But yeah.
Sweet, it's my turn.
Yeah, you go for it. And okay. I'll kind of just fill in with what I have.
Sounds good. So what I'm going to talk about is kind of a little bit about like what you as a marketer can do. That's kind of the demystifying part we wanted to put in, because of course, and especially as a team that does SEO, of course you can go to an agency, you can find, and we'll show you some of the impacts of the SEO work that we've done. But there is some really simple things that you can do if it's your website or your teams, your content, you can start to just do to understand even what is Muvera, how is it impacting me, and where are some areas I can start to look. And the biggest thing, this is my own tip that we've been doing so much reading and listening to YouTubes and podcasts about this.
Mhm.
And the one thing, my first step, I think my first takeaway is to just revisit your content. To just take a look at if there's some key pages, say top 20 pages that you haven't looked at the content or rewritten it in the last like 2 to 5 years, just go read it. Does it sound does it sound like what you want your content to be saying? Does it sound like a human is talking to you? You know, just kind of think about like, is it time to revisit and start to rewrite? And then when you're rewriting, you're really rewriting for semantic search. That's the whole gist of what Muvera is, and that runs off of what's called FDEs, or fixed dimensional encodings, and those encodings read and every single character of content on a website, whereas there used to be, I can't remember, there was something else encoded, another word for it that was on the last algorithm, and that one would really look for repetition. So instead of reading every single character, it looked for what characters were like repeated the most, and then it would just read that content to kind of course save like space and time. But now we have the capacity to look at every single character, and so that's where those semantics are coming from. And you, as you're writing, you really want to consider every element on your page, not just reiterating. You know, you're not just going for reiteration this time. And then, so some ways you can do that, I think, of building, I think the best way to think about it is that I'm going to use an electric bike as an example. If you used to search what's the best electric bike, you would want to have best electric bike as many times as you could across your website, because that's all that those results would be showing for. But now users they're searching for a lot more depth of information, and by the time they get to your page, they really want to have some of those questions answered, and that really means that you're bringing more like driven consumers kind of to your page, because they want to know how much it costs, what are the comparisons, how do they compare in reviews, how many amps, I guess, I don't know, maybe I should pick up an example I know anything about, but like, how electric is the electric bike, how fast does it go, how long does it last? Those are things that all of those elements are things that semantic search is looking for, that it wants to be able to provide, and more information you can provide is the higher you'll rank in authority to that content.
And kind of like adding on to that a little bit, so like SEMrush is a tool that we use, and so you can actually kind of see what people are searching up, and it is very much like people will want specific. So instead of just looking, previously Google might have been like for electric bike, for example. If you look up electric bike, yeah, you'd get some content and stuff, but a lot more people are looking up, because AI and all of that. Mm-hmm. People are looking up, like, what's the best bike that can get up to 50 miles per hour, or something like that. Like actually having content that makes sense, instead of just going for like the keyword electric bike, instead of having content that makes sense for that.
And this is something we did a case study months ago on kind of the changes as we were starting to see. This is before we even knew Muvera was going to roll out. This is just when we started to see AI searches coming out. But a big thing we noticed is that with Google ads or PP search ads, there was a significant drop at first, but then conversions and revenue started to go back up, even though organic search was declining. And that's because when users finally got onto a page, they were a lot more likely to convert or to purchase or to contact a business. And so that was kind of, that just goes to show that once they're well informed, they are more likely to stay on your page or convert. So some of the pages that you can put on there to give that full schema like context would be just really like making sure that any product, service, or offering that you have on your site is there's full detail on it. Don't just have a photo of it. Explain what it is, why you want to use it. You can have a frequently asked questions page, have a how-to page, how to use anything, how to contact you, how a product is used. Make sure that all of that is in like a very clean, clear format. And another key tool is that we used to use headings, like heading 1 and heading 2 on pages to insert keywords. Now I've heard them described as what you could call like flag posts. They should instead sort of signal what's that next element of content coming below. Like, what am I describing? What question am I about to answer? And then finally, I can end the rambling about things to do with multimedia. This is something we're kind of just starting to revisit as well. But multimedia is a huge plus. Muvera favors mixed content on sites. So a mix of text, video, images, voice, especially if all of those are conveying real world examples, authority, and trust. So if it's people, not AI talking, if it's not just like single graphic images, there's pictures of people using your product, there's pictures of people on your team. Just those kind of things are all work to have experience and authority.
Yeah, kind of just a more of a dynamic website is what works nowadays, and not just having, just keyword and then product, instead of having like a dynamic website of multimedia.
Yeah. So that was kind of a lot of information. One thing I want to show you before we hop off is we'll jump to this page. We have been working on a case study with one of our clients that we've been doing SEO work again, even before we knew that the Muvera was coming out. We kind of started this work a little bit before you see this arrow, but right where it says Muvera update, we actually saw a 55% increase in organic traffic as we started to implement an SEO package for a client. And so just even paying attention, starting to revisit content, rewrite content, fit in line with this new algorithm, there has been, as you can see, extremely high jumps in success for this client.
And that kind of goes along with, like, I think websites are supposed to refresh them every about 3 or 5 years. So it kind of fits in line with that too. So like if you haven't refreshed your website in a while, at least 3 to 5 years, it might be a good time to kind of look at what you're currently running and see if there's ways that you can optimize not only SEO, but your website itself.
Yeah, and then that I think brings us to time. Before we hop off, I am going to send over a link to our resources page because there is a wealth of content about Muvera on there right now. And you can feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions.
I think we just posted a new blog like yesterday too. So,
and this will be posted as a blog as well. Just kind of some of the key content we've talked about in the future.
Yep.
So I am going to play us. We really wanted to do some fun Halloween theme with the demystifying, but we just couldn't.
Yeah, we couldn't find anything Halloween around the office, and we didn't want to waste toilet paper wrapping me up like a mummy or something. So
I'm going to play a little Halloween exit music as we say goodbye. Maybe if it'll play.